In accordance with my current policy of taking a break from Beethoven, oh look, it helps if I, have the microphone in front of my face. As I was saying, with my current policy of taking a small break from covering Beethoven, I decided some more satanic panic content would definitely be something on the agenda to watch. And in this case, I thought, you know, let's go for a little change. In this case, we're actually going to be watching a 1980s talk show program special expose thing from good old Geraldo Rivera, who, those of you who were not around in the 80s, well, he's still out there. He's a Fox News commentator at this stage, but during the 80s and early 90s, he was relatively popular. Infamous for things like Al Capone's Vault, hosting the show on that was mentioned in the Simpsons episode on the B Sharps, Baby on Board. As Homer was writing the song, he goes, "There's nothing in Al Capone's vault, but it wasn't Geraldo's fault." That guy. Yeah. Um, this is just going to be an interesting time capsule of back during the Satanic Panic. Now, I've never watched this. I watched a little ways into it and thought, yeah, this might work. It is an hour and 30 minutes, so this will probably be a part one of multiple parts. We'll see how far I get before I decide, I'm done for the day. But you'll probably at least get an hour of solid content out of it, and what more can you ask? That's why you're here. You want me to watch stuff and comment on it, and us laugh and have fun. That's how this works. So let's just get right to it. Forget the preamble. Forget anything else. I've established what I need to. Like I said, some mid to late 80s TV special. We'll just let it speak for itself and comment along the way.
Because we're all over.
And beyond the mayhem and monster, it's said that a nationwide network of satanic criminals exists. Start with the warped and wicked Charles Manson.
It's everything that human beings don't understand. It's all their fears. It's what they're not sure of. You dig what I'm saying? Satan.
No, Manson, I don't. What I wonder is, did you get royalties for that Beatles song you wrote? I wonder.
Me would be God.
Or the demented son of Sam killer David Berkowitz. These and others, purportedly linked to the devil worship underground.
Hail Satan. Hail Satan. Hail Satan.
It's all over the United States and probably all over the world because it's just something that people are experimenting with now.
Impossible to measure, easy to doubt. The very mention of it invites.
Hey, wait. What was that news article saying?
Impossible to measure, easy to doubt.
Police probe whether Burdella practiced the occult. Okay. Sorry, we have the ability to, pause, so I was like, let me, see what we got here.
The very mention of it invites ridicule.
Torture suspect's dark side. Even his friends didn't see it.
Come out. No. I won't let her go. No.
Yes. People in groups who are told they're supposed to act a certain way, acting a certain way to fit in with the group. Because, that kind of peer pressure that goes beyond typical peer pressure, but is like ingrained in specialized, isolated cultural pockets. This expectation that you go with the flow. It's incredibly powerful and causes people to want to behave like this. I'm going to act like I'm possessed by a demon because I have to. I'm going to start saying random stuff, speaking in tongues because the church expects me to speak in tongues. Oh, I'm going to say I'm healed even though I'm not when this magic faith healer heals me. Because you don't want to be the party pooper. And I'm not going to lie, if I had the opportunity to act like a fucking nutwit like these guys, it'd probably be fun, but I've got too much self-awareness to actually go through with it. I'd feel stupid, going that all out when it's not an actual, acting gig or something, or me playing the character I play here. But, to them, could it be Satan? We'll find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. Often
the choice is to avoid confronting, ignore it, find other
Boy, she really hates sticks.
Explanation or laugh it off. That is not the choice we have made tonight. We have chosen to ask why. Via satellite, we'll be asking the youngest person on Oklahoma's death row, just 17 when he killed in the name of Satan, why he...
Now, let's be clear. There was another Geraldo special I was considering that focuses on these, at least one of these. Like this guy I know, and someone else. I skimmed that, decided I didn't want to touch on it, at least not yet. I don't know anything about these cases, and honestly, can't be arsed to look it up. Um, so you're not going to get too much insider commentary from me when it talks to the whole criminal situation, other than the kind of stuff you'd expect me to say.
Murdered his own parents. And to Southern California, where we will ask the parents of children in the notorious McMartin preschool why they claim their kids were satanically abused. And to London.
Oh, yeah, that's the one that he had to apologize on, that all of it was bullshit, I think. I think that's the one.
Where rock star Ozzy Osbourne will tell us why he feels he and heavy metal music are getting a bum rap. And to the state penitentiary in Angola, Louisiana, to ask convicted killer Charles Gervais why he thought the devil would award him 10,000 souls.
The Investigative News Group presents the Geraldo Rivera Special.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached peak 80s. Get your members-only jackets ready. This is a one-way portal. By the way, you got to rescue Sarah Connor, all right? While you're here. Kyle Reese, too busy jerking around. You got to do it. All of you. T-800's coming. I don't know. Felt like making a Terminator reference. It didn't work well. I'm gonna keep on going and ignore I made that horrible joke.
Devil worship. Exposing Satan's underground.
Is that anything like the London Underground? Dude, actually, I'm sure that is a band name. That would make a pretty cool band name, Satan's Underground. Then again, what doesn't make a good band name? Hell, images are closer than they are, enlarged to show texture. Products or objects in mirror are closer than they appear. That's all I was thinking. Those make good band names too. Everything makes a good band name. Let's look at this. Natural and artificial flavor. Just the one. That makes a good band name. Anyway.
Whether a Satan exists is a matter of belief.
Ooh, and here we reach another little peak 80s / early 90s trope. Because I'm sorry, I watched stuff from this era and I'm just like, it takes me back to childhood when I didn't know jack diddly shit, but noticed so many little things. Stereo on television was kind of a new thing and a big deal, so I always loved the in stereo, we're available. Because not all the broadcasts are going to be in stereo, and you better have a stereo television set. Remember, this is a time period, late 80s, early 90s, where there were still plenty of black and white sets out there. Those were still, manufactured in mass and were cheap options to a color for like the kids' room or something. So, stereo, that's a big deal on your TV.
But we are certain that Satanism exists. To some, it's religion. To others, it's the practice of evil.
Yeah, Maria, that's exactly what I was thinking. Velvet Underground.
In the devil's name. It exists, and it's flourishing. Members of our studio audience tonight will attest to that. They are friends and foes.
I love how they got that loop of Ozzy in the background. He just looks bored as shit. All I can imagine is Ozzy sitting in a studio, like, confined. They won't let him out until it's his part to speak, even though it's, like, pre-recorded. And so he's just held there having to watch the entire special. It's just a funny fucking image in my head.
Of Satanism, devil worshippers and law enforcers, experts and victims. They'll help us understand this force that exalts evil and darkness. We'll be asking why. Why does it exist? And why does it appeal to so many vulnerable people, especially the young?
Why does religion exist? And why does it appeal to so many vulnerable people, especially the young?
Very young and the impressionable should definitely not be watching this program tonight. This is not.
The very young and very impressionable should not be reading the Bible. Goes both ways, Geraldo. Not that you're explicitly defending religion, but given the content of the channel, I have to bring up the comparison and how it can be pushed backwards, reversed.
a Halloween fable. This is a real-life horror story, and it will give small children bad dreams. As for teenagers and their parents, we hope you...
Wait till those kids grow up and have people treat them like shit. Imagine the kind of dreams they'll have, especially when the medication that helps them feel better through the day happens to have a side effect of vivid dreams every night. Yeah, not fun. Not fun.
You are watching, because it's teenagers who are most likely to fall under the spell of this jumble of dark, violent emotions called Satanism, and in
So teenagers being teenagers, got it.
some cases, to be driven into committing terrible deeds.
Well, that guy was having a really good time, wasn't he?
Being into heavy metal doesn't necessarily mean your kid's also into Satanism, and most of these fans are not. But there is an undeniable connection between obsession with the really hard stuff and the occult.
Yeah, and there's an obsession with being into the really light stuff and being a total fucking loser.
This stone pony from Kansas City is named Spike.
The upside down cross is a symbol of Satan. Ozzy is a rock and roll singer, and most acid rock is involved with Satanism.
Okay, so, I don't know if you caught it. Dude's from fucking Kansas City, Missouri. And I dated a girl from Kansas City. She's fucking mental. I'm pretty sure Kansas City, Missouri is like the spawning point of outright insanity. Yeah. Also, I think dude took way too many acid tabs in the 60s and 70s, and it's completely fucking fried. So I don't think his take on anything is all that reliable.
Let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast.
A heavy metal freak from Louisiana, Joe got himself into self-mutilation in Satan's name.
We'd cut our arms and let the blood drip into a cup, and we'd pass it around and drink from the cup from each.
Okay, press X to doubt, but if true, you need some psychological help there, buddy. All right, see, the problem isn't symbology or anything of the sort. The problem is people being actually fucking crazy. You know, I mean, I'm just going to say that point blank, is that, you know, whatever shit in here is shit that people actually fucking did, because I don't even know one way or the other. You know, this is 40 freaking years ago. Yeah, it's beyond my ability to judge beyond y'all doing some crazy ass shit. So there's my take on anything that I don't really have additional commentary for. You use some crazy shit. People do crazy shit with all kinds of things inspiring them. That's humans doing what humans do. A lot of us do crazy shit at different points in lives. Not everyone, but a lot of us. It's all relative, though.
Each other's blood.
Kim from Colorado also practiced the gruesome ritual.
Violence with blood. We like to see blood.
Hey, yeah, there are exceptions. Some people from there are all right. In all seriousness, I joke. But my ex was pretty freaking wild. Not in the fun way.
We used to eat
Okay, a little in the fun way, but still.
blood and stuff like that.
Drinking blood as entertainment is apparently a staple in the acts of heavy metalists like Wasp.
My life became centered not only around.
Hey, look. We're talking 1980s. It's the guy from the Dire Straits music video, Money for Nothing. Yeah, it's the tall guy. They updated his resolution. He's got more than 12 pixels now.
The marijuana, I was.
And what's the deal with everybody being from Missouri? I mean, I'm noticing a pattern here.
Smoking and the booze I was drinking, but it became centered around Satan.
Although Satanism is more obvious in the lyrics of groups like Megadeth, Slayer, Venom, and Iron Maiden. In St. Petersburg, Florida recently, satanic symbols filled the air at this concert by Danish-born King Diamond.
How much can you influence?
And this was the point where I knew I had to do this, because motherfucking King Diamond. All right, in teenage years, I had a Merciful Fate CD somehow become part of my collection, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is awesome!" He's like the straight up. You think the pants 3 sizes too tight, high pitched shit? That's King Diamond right there. But it's so fucking good, and his solo works awesome. A Merciful Fate was something else. I mean, you want to actually get into some true traditional black metal, the pure Satan themed stuff, like the shit that pisses off all the, conservative dipwads. King Diamond's some good shit right there.
I think people are too clever to be influenced by watching a band or listening to an album to go out and do the same, because if they were that easy to influence, watching the news, you get the real thing, and everybody knows that, right into your living room.
What may not have caught there is him pointing out the time and time again that the actual news and actual real world is far worse than any of the symbology being done here, where it's all theater, it's all to a degree camp, it's all for show, it's all for atmosphere. But you watch the news, you hear all kinds of actual crap, and it's like, what the hell? This is real shit. And people, that's okay because it's the news, but this level of fantasy and this level of thematics to music and such is a problem. I've mentioned before, one of my favorite bands outright is the Finnish rock band Lordi, Lordi. The dude who funded, getting ahead of myself. The guy who founded it was a big Kiss fan. So he started with theatrical makeup. He does theatrical makeup and stuff, was his profession. When he started the band, he started going with a monster costume idea. Some people think it's Gwar inspired, but not necessarily. It's technically Kiss inspired. But he goes all fucking out. And they've got a lot of just typical, you want to call it extreme Halloween, thematics to the music. And I fucking love it. Every album has some cool thing going on with it. That's always like that, and I'm just like, oh, this is so fucking sweet. They're not fucking monsters or anything. They're fucking playing characters. Music's themed. That's all it is. It doesn't go any further than that, and that's all it's ever gone to. Yeah, there can be groups, there are people that seriously take this shit serious, but I mean, how far does that really go? How deep down the rabbit hole? You can't go that far. That just doesn't. Ironically, on the other side, it goes extremely deep. Far more people believe that this shit is something more than the people who actually at all like it ever would consider it going. If any of what I just said made sense, I don't know. I think I kind of blacked out there in the middle of it. Losing my mind. Too much Geraldo. Let's continue.
Personally, I am a Satanist, a practicing Satanist, but we never tried to preach that religion to anybody.
Bull. An avowed Satanist, Diamond's protest that he's not preaching is belied by lyrics laced with references to death, grave, and evil. Of course, to some, it's just rock and roll rebellion. Satan has...
Yeah, that's all it is. It's different. People like different. Young people like different. That's how it works. That's how society changes and grows.
Nothing to do with this kind of a concert.
It's just an outlet to have a good time.
Parents, they go Satanism their kids. It's killing their kids. It's not killing their kids. The parents are screwing up in the beginning. We're the next generation. And you like it?
Whatever the connection, there is no doubt that teenage satanic activity in this country is increasing dramatically. In Bayou Country in southwest Louisiana, one persistent problem has been grave robbing.
So what do they take out of this?
Okay, yeah, and that's not fucking cool. These are some twisted motherfuckers who want to get their Ed Gein on. That ain't fucking cool.
They take out the bones, okay, especially on the older type grave sites as this, because our understanding is that the right little finger has something to do with their culture, and they make a necklace out of them and they wear them.
A necklace out of the
right knuckle.
And the graffiti is no longer John Loves Mary.
Death chamber, the point of no return, this says.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I literally referred to a spot at work today as like the mouth of torment or something because it's a shit show over there. But I had to go look for something in this pile of crap in the corner. Wasn't there. That doesn't mean I think it's actually some literal mouth just of concentrated pure terror and evil. It's a fucking nickname. God. No, graffiti isn't cool, but you can't just. No one can have fun with anything to these people. It's crazy.
As you walk into the main vault is the devil's pentagram, 666, the sign of the devil. Over here, a bloody skull and crossbones.
A very poorly rendered one. That looks like some shit I'd tag. Actually, no, that's probably better than what I'd come up with.
In Maine, a dozen churches were defaced with...
And of course, they ignored the big Aussie over there. They didn't want to, do too much when they were going to have him out as a guest.
Satanic symbols. In California, New Jersey, Alabama, and elsewhere, police have found inverted crosses and the remains of mutilated animals. But by far the most frightening of all are the reports of teenagers killing other kids in Satan's name.
Yeah, Harold, I was actually just researching mayhem. So I'm familiar with that one album cover. Granted, it was a bootleg, but still. Yep. That's something extreme. That makes me uncomfortable, and I can handle a lot.
Item, Douglas County, Georgia.
I'm sorry for you, young lady, and I sentence you to a term of life in prison. I'm sorry for you, and I wish you good luck.
Yeah, it's pure capitalism. That's all that matters, putting butts in seats. Get them to the show. This is back when they actually made well, I mean, they made money off touring, but, this is back when a concert was like $5, and, the artists actually got fucking paid.
Remove her from the courtroom, Mr. Sheriff.
Remove from the courtroom. I can't handle anybody with mental issues because I'm a fucking dimwit born back in 1920, and I don't know a goddamn thing about anything. I'm just a fucking stick in the mud.
17-year-old Melissa Ernest and two other teenage members of her coven admitted drinking her 15-year-old victim's blood, then dancing around her still warm body. Now listen.
And that's pretty goddamn fucked up.
To this report from a small town in Maine.
Yesterday's conviction of Scott Waterhouse for the murder of 12-year-old Giselle Cody may
Yes, Stacy, that's our old friend Geraldo Rivera.
finally bring an end to talk of a satanic cult in the town.
Item, Long Island, New York. Police arrest 17-year-old Ricky Casso for the ritual murder of 15-year-old Gary Lowers. Casso gouged out his victim's eyes. As we've seen, the level of violence in these crimes committed in Satan's name.
Yeah, Laura, that's part of why I decided to take a little stint down the satanic panic rabbit hole, since I know a lot of us in the 40 to 50 range will have most definitely been, if not remembering this outright, will have grown up affected by it in one way or another, or the echoes of it. How people still believe things were this extreme for many, many years afterwards.
Is often appalling and savage, brutal enough to shock even hardened police officers. Detective Paul Hart thought he had seen everything. Then this veteran New Jersey officer saw how a suburban teenager murdered and mutilated his own mother.
I believe that evil will want...
So they just pay these guys to stand out of here and look like they're paying attention to something? I mean, when you think about it, when you grow up and you think about like basic cinematography, and you understand shots and composition of scenes and such, these transitions just feel weird because they're just like waiting. It's weird, man. It's the only word I can come up with. Weird.
Once again, rise and conquer the love of God. If this pact is to your approval, sign below.
Just barely 14 years old, Tommy Sullivan had written this contract with the devil before he butchered his mother with his Boy Scout knife.
Well, that kid's pretty goddamn fucked up. See, it's always a reversal of things. They think that taking an interest in something leads to the more extreme behavior when it's the other way around. Usually the people have something seriously wrong, and certain things that are seen as dark end up attracting them. It's like the, video games cause violence thing, and it's like, no, you take 5 seconds to look at it, you realize, no, violent people are probably going to like more violent games. I've never met pro Call of Duty players who are super chillax, just saying.
The murder took place in the basement of the Sullivan family home.
As we came down here, we found Mrs. Sullivan laying on the floor just about in this area here.
Describe the condition of the body.
G.G. Allen is a very, very weird story. Like, there's aspects of him that I greatly appreciate. You could say almost admire in the rebellious streak, but he was so fucked up. So fucked up. That's about the extent of it. I can respect him as an artist creating, and as someone who was very, very, just true to himself, I guess, but that's it.
It appeared that her throat had been cut and a good portion of her face had literally been slashed
away. And that is the one.
Tommy died as brutally as his mother did, but at his own hands.
What did Tommy then manage to do to himself? What wounds did he inflict on himself to kill himself?
His first self-inflicted wounds were a series of wounds to his wrists. 3, if I remember correctly, deep enough to actually sever the arteries and the tendons in his arm, enough to snap back his wrist. And after doing that, he literally slit his throat from ear to ear with this 3.5-inch knife.
Laura, you bring up Harry Potter in the chat, a person I've been friends with in the music game scene for many, many years. It's more of like a casual acquaintanceship at this stage, but I still like following his adventures in life. He is trashing everything Harry Potter related in his collection. Finally, he says, I've been overdue for it, and yeah, and it's because of her viewpoints on stuff. So
from the windpipe all the way back to the spinal column, and to the point of almost taking his head off.
Understandably unable to live with the gruesome memories in their family, Tommy's father and younger brother have moved out of state.
Do you think you can ever find a...
I don't know the details on this case, but I mean, that's all pretty goddamn fucked up. I think better access to mental health care and actually addressing the problems rather than trying to use, church bullshit, like, especially prominent around that time, let alone now, as a substitute for actual health care, might have gone a long way to preventing that.
In your heart to forgive your son?
I don't know. I loved him dearly. But he also took my wife, who I loved.
How could this happen here? To a nice boy from a good Catholic school and a fine middle-class family. Sure, he was obsessed by the symbols. This is what his room looked like on the night of the murder and suicide. But heavy metal is not answer enough.
You're a veteran of Vietnam. Had you ever seen anything that brutal?
Certainly in an area like this, in a town like this, in a neighborhood like this, you don't expect to see that type of violence. And it was brutal.
Yep. Pretty fucked up. Still, you even almost get there with the symbology and stuff, but you're still going to play the blame it on the rock, blame it on the thematics. Crazy people are going to do crazy shit. Sick, twisted individuals, people in desperate need of mental health that is simply not available or they don't get access to for one reason or another. They're going to do shit. It's going to happen. People will get attracted to things that might feel more comfortable in that versus normal society because they obviously don't feel like they fit in with normal stuff. But as I stressed earlier, they're using those things, the extreme symbology, they're taking it in because they like it because it fits with how they already might feel. And in this case, they're feeling way too, way too serious on stuff, taking things way too literally, as opposed to symbolic and metaphor. That, however, would be no different than someone reading the Bible and deciding that because God told Abraham to kill Isaac, the moment they hear a voice, they go off and do the same thing to their own kids. Recall the woman who drowned her kids so they'd go to heaven because, you know, she went freaking nuts. Note that I stressed that she went nuts. I stress that because, yeah, I don't think she was saying it all. Forget the details of the case, but I mean, it was, you know, it was because she's like, oh, if they die, they'll go to heaven. So they don't have to deal with the horrible, evil world. Are you going to blame Jesus on that? Because you could by the same logic.
It was brutal, and there's few of us that will forget that.
Nor do you forget these drawings Tommy made just before he killed himself. But you continue to search for the reasons. What made Tommy? What made the others do it?
You know, given that he grew up in a Catholic school, or went to Catholic school, and obviously would have grown up with religion being a part, you've established a precedent to believe in kind of extreme supernatural things and establish that these entities actually exist. So again, you've broken down a potential barrier that would have stopped them from going anywhere extreme, even with the psychoses or whatever may have been going on. And the fact that, oh, this isn't real. This is all imaginary. This is all characters. This is all thematic. So he might not have taken stuff like this piece of art he drew so fucking serious and so fucking literal.
As reporters investigating this story for months, we have a good idea of what's going on in this country. Our big question tonight is why. This is Detective Sergeant Pearl Hart. Yes, stand up, Paul. He's the man, the cop who investigated the Tommy Sullivan tragedy. I've never heard of wounds that ferocious, and the pictures are even more appalling. Pictures that we did not show here. Do you think, you're not a theologian, you're a cop, do you think that Tommy was possessed?
I think that possession is a state of mind, and it would have been a hell of an interview with Tommy had we located him. Certainly, like I had said before, his death was as violent as his mother's.
Father LeBar, you investigate these cases for the Catholic Church.
I'm sure you probably need some investigation there, buddy. Recall, this is before all of the stuff became public, which I remind you, the abuse of children, amongst other things, was what Sinead O'Connor had made her protest about, and everyone gave her shit over, even though she was proven right. Career never fucking recovered. So shout out to her for doing the right fucking thing. Massive respect to that woman. Wish she was still around. So I don't even know if this kid did anything wrong, but I hate to be the guy. It looks like he did, so fuck you, dude.
Is it the church's position that demonic possession is possible?
It certainly is. There have been many cases down through the centuries, many in our own decade, for example, of where the devil has actually possessed people and caused them to do many strange things.
Citation needed, potato face.
So you believe it's possible?
I believe not only is it possible, it is a reality in some very select amount of cases.
Let's go to London for a quick exchange with Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy, I'm glad you're on the program. I'll interview you in greater detail in a couple of minutes. The one thing I have to ask you now, though, is...
Hi, Ozzy. I know there's like an 8-hour time difference, and your time is extremely valuable, but I'm just going to bloviate a little bit before we get back to talking to you. Which means this man was just sitting there being recorded, just chilling the entire time all the rest of the stuff was going on. At least insofar as all the studio recording work. Unless this was actually done live, in which case, holy fuck, they wasted 12 plus minutes of Ozzy's time.
Of course, the vast majority of your fans and the fans of heavy metal music are not Satanists. But there is no doubt, at least not in our reporting, that that heavy metal music plays a role.
Yes, this is Ozzy back when he was doing his best Stevie Nicks impression.
Every single kid that whose case we know about, who committed a violent act.
By the way, did y'all ever see Ozzy with short hair? There was a period where he had like shaved his head, so there's a range where he had fucking short hair, and it looks weird.
In Satan's Name was also into heavy metal music. What's your response to that, Oz?
Well, I don't really know. All I do is make music. You know, I don't sit down and purposely plan to freak everybody out. I mean, I always have played heavy metal music. I suppose when I was younger and I started writing songs, my world was kind of dark and dingy, and
Man, he's so eloquent here. I know he's done a lot of drugs, but Ozzy, what the hell happened?
From a working class family who had nothing, no dough, no prospect of ever having much money, and so that's how I saw the world as a child. And so, well, not all my songs are about Satanism.
Of course not.
In fact, if you
stand by, Ozzy, because I want to get to Sean Sellers, who's the youngest.
Honestly, there's a large number of Ozzy. I think there's probably more Ozzy songs in the early years about basically the Cold War than necessarily like the Satan concept. You know, for every Mr. Crowley, you've got Crazy Train. You've got Killer of Giants. You've got Thank God for the Bomb. You know, you get stuff that is clearly a reference to the socio-political global climate, the tense tail end of the Cold War that just overnight vanished. I mean, you got to remember, people were fucking scared. Shit was hot. It hadn't been that hot since the 60s. Like, seriously, I know Ozzy's work reasonably enough to be able to group his music, and there's a lot that one way or another can be seen as that versus, you know, again, just obviously going to the dark side of things. Pun intended.
Kid ever to go on death row in Oklahoma. Sean is a kid who murdered his mother, murdered his stepfather, murdered a convenience store clerk. What did Satanism have to do with it, Sean? What did Satan, do you feel, have to do with, first, your murder of that convenience store clerk?
Satanism was, well, the murder was because it was a, how do I say this so that you can understand it? It was a sacrifice to prove allegiance to Satan, to prove my hatred towards society and everything.
Well, hatred towards society is one thing, Sean, but how does Satan make you commit murder?
Yeah, but Geraldo, Sean, in that particular situation, Sean Sellers...
This is Tom Wedge, an expert in Satanism, who is with Sean in the Oklahoma State Penitentiary. Yeah.
Looks like she's an expert in other things, too. That button's holding on for dear life. God damn. Ladies and gentlemen, we found Cartman's dad. It wasn't Scott Tenorman's dad at all. It's this guy.
Right.
Go ahead, quickly.
Sean had broken every one of the 10 commandments except thou shalt not commit murder. And after he worshiped before the altar and asked for powers from Satan, he went out to do this. Technically, it was a human sacrifice.
Okay, I got to...
Yep, so kid's fucking mental. Didn't get help he needed. Did some twisted ass shit. Copy that.
Move on. You guys stand by. We'll get back to you. Stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get into the mind of another all-American boy who came under the influence of Satanism and took part in a crime without...
But remember, if you did the same thing and said that God made him do it, that no one would accept that. How convenient.
Passion or motive, he and his pals beat another classmate to death. We'll be right back.
And now, back with more bullshit, Geraldo Rivera.
As you may have heard, we faced a much publicized dilemma in putting this program together. Many of the things about Satanism are offensive, and putting on an offensive...
And many of the things about Christianity are offensive. The treatment of women, the treatment of the LGBTQ community. Let's see. Oh yeah, the massive amounts of rape, genocide, incest.
Television show was not our aim, so the most gruesome scenes have been left out.
And let's note that, of course, this is focusing just on the Satanism concept as part of the satanic panic, but that automatically implies that the entirety of not just Christianity, but of Christianity, I was trying to say, is not just the Abrahamic faith, but particular variations of Christianity are the default, are explicitly valid, and that all of this is real insofar as this entity existing, rather than people just self-deluding because they have fucking issues. It's never look at the mental health. It's never, ever that. And of course, this is in the era where that was still, taboo. But even today, no one ever wants to look purely at the mental health and follow things there. They always try to look for outside influences. It's never something necessarily wrong with them. It's always got to be something else that caused them to feel this way. It can't be societal issues combined with other factors. Nope. It's always just them, and always this stuff that just has to be rallied against, but doesn't actually exist, so no one has to face any accountability for anything. It's crazy.
Now, what we've kept is strong. We think it's strong enough to get across an effective warning. Satanism can be cause for concern. Its roots are anywhere. Its roots are even in the very heartland of this country. Take a look. Colonel Junction, Missouri. A town of about 4,000 souls.
Hey, and there's, excuse me, I gotta say it like he did, Missouri again. What the fuck is it? Is that the one place they stopped for any kind of footage? We're just gonna pick the middle of bumfuck Missouri. There's a Kansas City. There's a cow. There's some flat land. There's extensions labeled K and J and D instead of giving actual numbers. Yeah, that's seriously a thing in Missouri. That's how I knew when I was headed up to Wisconsin a couple of years ago that I was in Missouri, which was a state I swore I'd never enter, but well, that happened. It's actually kind of nice up there. But again, I like being on the highways and traveling places. Rarely get to do it. Point is, their exits are actually labeled with letters, like the full gamut through some system rather than traditional numbers. Say exit 14, you take exit K. I kind of like it.
In the heart of the Bible Belt, where people believe in God and the devil.
Yeah, and you particularly show Methodist. I at least know enough to know the one with the flame is Methodist. Watch me have been wrong. Someone correct me. And oh, look, graffiti. Yeah, that's pretty hardcore there.
Periodically, satanic graffiti and some mutilated animals turn up, causing alarmists to...
That's fucking dark. I don't want to see that. Also, that more looked like roadkill, but,
cry that satanic cults are operating in the area. Those charges were routinely discounted until a group of students from this high school shocked the entire nation. Late one night last December, 4 teenagers who had been dabbling in Satanism carried baseball bats, a cat, and a length of rope to an isolated spot near their small town here in Missouri. By the time the night was over, the cat had been mutilated and one of the boys beaten to death by the other 3, who then dumped his body in a well. One of the kids...
Yeah, that's pretty goddamn fucked up. I don't approve. I very much condone and condemn such. No, don't condone. I condemn such. Did I just mix up condemn and condone? Was I looking for another word? Oh no. Y'all know what I mean. I just had a Hovind moment. At least I caught myself. I do not condone that. I condemn that. There.
Who did it? Pete Rowland is now serving life sentence without parole here at this maximum security facility in Fulton, Missouri. The other 2 boys, his classmates, were
in Fulton, Missouri,
also sentenced to life. Have you ever been here in the first interview since the murder? Pete Rowland talks about the satanic elements of the crime.
What was it about Satanism that attracted you?
Power. Just, with power comes money, comes girls.
Yes, we've all seen Scarface. First you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the women. But we're not all Cuban drug lords, and this isn't 1980s Miami, all right? At best, I'm a cut-rate Tommy Vercetti past his prime. I just don't have as cool a voice as Ray Liotta. Either way, given what happened in apartment 3C, I wonder if the rent is actually affordable there.
Just the feeling of people looking up to you, popularity.
You're a good-looking guy, smart.
I don't like where this is going. I was going to make the comment, though, what is it with weird Satanists and having fucking cheekbones for days and, like, chiseled-ass chins and shit? He got Richard Ramirez, and then this fucker. It's like, damn. Oh, fucking Richard Ramirez. Dude's weird. Well, he was weird. He died, but, yeah. And, you know, that's saying a lot if I'm calling him weird, given the kind of person, but, you know.
Wouldn't you have those things anyway?
It just seemed easier through the devil.
The devil was the spur for this murder, which Pete confessed on this never-before-seen police videotape.
Yes.
Go ahead and show us what you did.
And I got right through here, and I grabbed over the hand, and I pulled.
Oh, given he's handcuffed, it doesn't look like this is a confession. It looks like this is, well, okay, a part of it in detail, going through the exact stuff. So, okay, but I mean, confession to me is the moment where you say, yes, I did it. And then after that, it's all just being declarative. I don't know. I'm thinking too much about this. Maybe I should have picked a Hovind video. I would have had to have thought less.
Pulled him through to right here. We saw the victim, and he was still moaning a little bit and going, like kind of like that. Right this bat here, Pete. Okay, this is the bat that I.
Now, I'm again no medical expert or psychologist or anything on this, but if this isn't like, and this. So I was going to say, if this isn't just purely staged, but it's like, here's the thing. Even if it was, and this guy is talking about these events and not feeling anything from it, showing a total lack of empathy. So that's telling me that he has typical traits of a psychopath, sociopath, somewhere in that range. He has no empathy for it. Because I know if I was going through that kind of stuff again, if I had done something horrible like that and was trying to explain it, I would be choking up during it as I realize what I'm saying and what I'm doing. Because I have normal fucking empathy. That might be why I care so much to research darker parts of history. Because I feel for, the victims, feel for what happened and try to understand them and the events as best I can for whatever value it has to people in the future and is keeping, their memory around. I don't know. The victim's memory is around. Point is, I wouldn't be able to say this so clinically. Like, there's a lot of stuff I can look at from a clinical outside perspective, but if I was the one to have had to have done this, y'all have heard me choke up when I talked about a couple of friends who have passed. And just right there, I had to pause for a second because I had to think back to some of those moments of, finding your friend unresponsive. And it hurts, and I relive the feeling, the pain of that. But he feels nothing for this. And that's, I feel, all you need to see to realize, okay, there's an extreme mental component here, and his interest in the occult is just being used as a scapegoat, as an excuse to not have to be like, nope, there's a mental health problem. Now I'm fucking upset thinking about the friends I've lost. Let's continue.
The third bat.
Quite a bit of blood and hair on this thing. You can see a lot of hair on the end of it.
Who all hit him? Me, myself, Jim Hardy, and Ron Clement. It basically started out like with the killing of animals. Then there's always the heavy metal music, and drugs don't help. Sometimes I didn't feel like I was the master of my own body. Like something else kind of took over with inside of my mind.
I'm getting all emotional. You guys are talking about D&D. I am not complaining. It's actually just funny the range that some of the side chat can go versus what's actually been being done. It's like, Even you guys need to take a break from it. Can't people have fun when they can be servant? Maybe.
What took over? Just the violence, the devil, lust and greed for drugs, for money.
Pete gradually withdrew from family life. That is probably one of the main things I noticed. He even got to where he avoided eating meals with us. He listened to the music, heavy metal music, every opportunity.
Another example of the link between heavy metal and teenage satanic crime.
Okay, that right there, they showed Megadeth, Peace Sells. You know, I was mentioning Ozzy and Cold War music. The fuck do you think Peace Sells is about? Oh, but of course it's Megadeth, and it's got a creepy character on it. It looks all evil, so, you know, we need to show it off. Because this is the 80s, and we're in the middle of satanic panic, and we gotta blame everything on that.
Describe what this music did to you. It's kind of like in the way of when we killed animals, it was just like, it would just things would go through my mind, and I could see the thoughts, I could see me hurting someone, you know, torturing people, and just along with the words too. Some of it was just all hail Satan and ripping apart, severing flesh, gouging eyes, things like that, you know. And after you listen to this, you know, 3 or 4 hours a day, every day for, you know, years or months, and it can get to you.
Or, here's a proper way to look at it. You're already into sick, twisted crap due to some condition, some quirk in your brain. And when you hear music that has a focus on that, you get more and more into it in a positive feedback loop. And eventually those really twisted ass parts of your psyche just take the fuck over. Oh, but Chris, does that mean we should ban the music and stuff? Because it did help. It had a positive effect. It's like, that's a problem in its own right. But again, you're not dealing with the root issue of mental health. That's what this whole thing boils down to, is fucking mental health.
Why did you choose this guy as your victim? Why Steve?
Just because he was a human. Just because we could deceive him easy.
The boy deceived was 19-year-old Stephen Newberry, who then took the first of some 70 blows as his classmates swung their baseball bats.
I kind of looked down and I heard it pop, and I knew that it was. And I looked up, and Steve's eyes were real.
My understanding with the Ozzy Osbourne thing is that a person did throw the actual bat up there somehow, and he did bite into it, realized it was an animal immediately, and went off, you know, did the rabies shots, all that shit. That's the version I've heard that's supposed to be the most accurate, but I have no clue on the veracity of that.
Real big, you know. And he just said, you know, why me? Why me? And he just looked like he was really sad, and someone said, because it's fun, Steve. And then we just all just like vultures, you know. I mean, we just went in. It happened, you know.
And that's interesting right there, is that he is sort of starting to show or feel a level of remorse. Again, no expert. But you just look at his eyes and you see actual sorrow there. Because I think it finally hit him what he did. But also, since he's been isolated from stuff and I guess reality has set in, he's had time for that messed up part to sort of go back into remission, I guess you could say, to settle down, for the rest of the logic to, you know, keep doing what it's supposed to do and repress any kind of dark urges like that, because we are social creatures and, you know, generally we don't try to cause pain to others. It's a tragedy in its own right, but, you know, he fucked around and found out. I don't know any details on the case beyond that, you know, who these guys are still alive or not, where they are, what's going on, what their sentences are. You know, the only big case of satanic panic, you know, crime that I ever really paid much attention to happened to be the West Memphis 3, because that happened in my lifetime, and of course, just across the Mississippi River. That's a whole to do in its own right that maybe we can look into sometime. No, we're not watching a woman shoplifting Walmart. Thank you, YouTube. I've been watching cop body cam videos recently because they've been making me laugh. But yeah, again, I hate these things happen, and I certainly don't do this to ridicule these events, only to document this, my reaction 40 years on to this kind of let's blame the media, let's blame the culture, and not acknowledge that the root problem is the people. Is something that they needed help with that didn't happen. It's the same thing as Kent Hovind blaming evolution on stuff like Columbine, when no, those kids needed help and they didn't get it. It's a tragedy. It's just going to keep on going until America actually takes mental health seriously.
You hit him?
Yes.
In the head?
Yes.
How many times?
A lot. Now look at my hands.
Yeah, Harold, very good point. It's like, I'm fucked up in the head. It isn't from music. It's from life itself. Exactly.
Sometimes, and I think, are these the hands that killed him? And I mean, I know they are, but it just doesn't seem like it, I don't want, I would never want to kill anybody again. I mean, right after we did what we did, I felt real empty inside. I felt like I could never love again, I felt like a zombie.
Yeah, his apology was a load of shit in its own right.
The devil double-crossed her.
Yes. It just leads to your own destruction.
How do you know that now?
See, that language right there, treating it that Geraldo in this is acknowledging that, oh, this devil character, this Satan character is a real thing. Which always confused me how this entity can have so much power, and yet Magic Sky Daddy does fuck all to stop it, just lets it happen, and then wants to treat, the person used and abused like crap. It's like, I told you so. Well, why don't you have some damn empathy? Oh, no, because we're supposed to do everything you say, even the shit that contradicts the other shit, because, that's just how this whole thing works. Even though you don't show yourself or ever do anything for anybody. Oh, but made sure the team won at sports games, and I found my fucking keys. But, childhood cancer.
Look where I'm at, look at my sentence. I mean, I'm in jail with life without parole.
I feel very guilty that I didn't pay attention, that I didn't. There were some things that I saw.
I really hate to do this, but the person we're looking at right here is heavily responsible for the tragedy. Because even acknowledging that she wouldn't have known, this was again the 80s, so mental health was not in the state it was now. Nothing ever is. Things are thankfully constantly improving in the health and understanding of the human psyche. She really could have taken a different route in potentially addressing things, especially given that dude was a teenager. Teenagers are inherently rebellious. And what's a stifled parent who, remember, this woman was born 40s or 50s. We're old enough to where she looks, relatively young from perspective, but she was born a good time ago from now. Definitely. So you have to consider that her approach would definitely be more traditional, more old school. And an teenage rebellion would have only pushed him further into accepting the psychosis that he had. For me to call it such as a non-medical person. That's the way that's how I want to group these things in a layperson sense. I don't know why I'm covering my ass so much with this stuff. It's not like anybody's going to sue, but I'm just trying to explain, the best my understanding is and use words that I think capture the idea I want to convey. Let's continue.
That I feel like I should have paid attention to. I saw the album covers and they're hideous.
Yep. Blame the album covers. It's not a matter of him needing some, constructive outlet or anything. Maybe some affection in a different way. And I mean, I don't know. You could have really tried to do everything right and it's still just fucked up. But still, There comes a point where something, I feel, should have been the dead giveaway. The point where it's like, okay, this isn't working. I have to try something new to keep things okay. Because obviously the kid wouldn't, I imagine he wouldn't be happy. That's a trend with these things where the kids clearly are never happy. Once again, to bring up Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, they were not happy except for when they were doing crazy shit. And no one ever acknowledges this. No one ever tries to help with that. And then these things happen. Then you know why you never hear about people helping and these things still happen? You almost never do. Because usually when people actually try to help the right way, that shit most of the time works. At the very least, it can take the edge off. So, you always see the misses. You always see the hits. You always see the mistakes. You never see when everything goes smooth. It's weird, It's one of those things where you can only verify when things fail. But I'm rambling. Let's continue. Also, I want to listen to some Iron Maiden now. 2 Minutes to Midnight is my fucking jam.
Just assume that if they sell it, it's got to be okay. I saw satanic symbols on his bookwork, and I'd...
Hey, the swastika ain't satanic, all right? Let's be clear. Some various Eastern religions, the ones usurped by that fuckbag Austrian painter that we all love to hate, and got a bad rap. So it's its own thing. All right, that shows another level of being fucked up right there that you don't want to get me started on. Y'all have heard me rant about them there National Socialist types before. Don't feel like doing it now, but it suffices to say, Yamato does not approve. And that's putting it lightly.
Spoken to him about it, didn't mean anything, I assumed it was a passing phase.
I mean, let's be real. This is your typical teenage rebellion. Fitting of the era, of course. But, something could have been done to stop it from going extreme. It could have happened. It should have happened. But maybe everything they could think to do was tried. I don't know. I feel like I'm giving the mom, 18 layers of shit, and I'm not intending to. But she can't just blame the media as if just magically taking that away would have changed anything. He would have still felt the same way. Potentially done the same stuff just for a different reason.
I had my things when I was that age. I assumed that he had his. I assumed wrong. And I would advise anybody, if they see anything like that, to look into it. Don't ignore it. It doesn't pass.
See, at that point, you reach false positives. Instead of looking at the individual child and assessing how they're feeling, how they're coping with the struggles of being an adolescent, a teenager, a young adult in, the area they live with the peers they have. You immediately blame the media they're consuming and say that that's the cause of the problems. And that's just not the case. It might not help things, but there's a root problem you need to address. You got a damn bug infestation, just squishing them as you see them isn't going to stop anything. You got to get to the nest. You got to get to the core of it.
It's just something I'll never get over, ever.
Like, I just ask the audience, you guys, is what I'm saying making sense? I just want to make sure that I'm making sense here because I'm becoming super self-aware during this. Just let me know.
Parents, heed the advice of Pete Rowland's mom. Pay attention. Satanism is not a harmless fad or a
oh shit, AJ, hey buddy.
Passing phase in some of these kids' lives. Ozzy,
yeah?
I know that your lyrics are less excessive than groups like Slayer or Venom or Iron Maiden or some of the others, but still.
I love how it'll be like Ozzy, Slayer, Iron Maiden, and then bands I've barely ever heard of, like Venom. And then they mentioned Wasp earlier, I think, and I'm like, okay. Next thing you're going to tell me, Winger is too extreme. Stuart likes Winger.
For some reason, maybe it's because you've been around for so long, I see tattoos of your name on some of these, teenage devil worshippers' arms. Wherever I see devil graffiti and satanic graffiti, I see your name also. Do you feel a sense of responsibility, Oz?
The only responsibility I feel is the fact that I'm a true musician in what I play. I don't want to make anybody start doing all this devil worship crap, because that's not my intention. Although I have sang on a few songs about the devil, you know, that's about it. You know, I don't want anyone to harm themselves.
What about the issue of
wow, just interrupt Ozzy fucking Osbourne. Way to go, Geraldo, you prick.
responsibility? What about the whole thing about guilt? Do you feel responsible?
He's not saying what I want him to, so I'm going to try to edge him on into the next question I want him to say, because I'm fucking Geraldo Rivera, and I'm sensationalist bullshit.
I don't feel guilty. I feel kind of persecuted by everybody, because I'm not a bad guy. My intentions are not to harm anyone. In fact, it's directly the opposite. Like when people come to my concerts, I want them to have a good, fun evening out, you know. And it seems to me that a lot of people judge the book by the cover.
Look, did Geraldo look like exacerbated to you? Like he's still not saying what I want him to say? Geraldo, you understand that Ozzy, this guy cares and loves people. Do you understand that Ozzy has never been the same since Randy Rhoads died? Everyone who knew him during that time period has said that. Something went with Randy. He's never been quite the same. Randy Rhoads' death haunts Ozzy forever. He lost his best friend. So you're going to tell me someone with that kind of empathy, someone with that kind of care, that kind of love, to be carrying that, even to this day, that same wound, that he... You're going to try to paint him in a bad light, saying he doesn't feel responsible and he feels persecuted, because that's exactly what's happening to him, that he clearly loves people, loves his fans. And you're just like, you occasionally sing some songs that have a little bit of symbology in them. You're evil. This is incredible. How did people not see this as what it is back in the... Oh, right, I forgot. Sorry, for a minute, I thought more people had more critical thinking skills than they do, sadly.
More. So they write things about me, well, they don't even know what they're talking about, you know.
Well, there are lots of people out there, lots of people here in our studio audience who have a very different point of view.
Well, they're fucking wrong.
Get to them coming up next. A look into the dark soul of Satanism. Stay with us.
Devil worship, exposing Satan's underground, has returned. Now, your host with the awesome mustache but nothing else going for him, Geraldo Rivera.
Once again, a warning about some tough...
He must have had to go take a pee break.
...language and descriptions in a report that we'll have for you in just a moment. Let me introduce you first, though, to Zena LaVey. Her father, Anton LaVey, is, I guess, the founding father of Satanism in this country. Founding it about 25 years ago, Zena?
Yeah, approximately 25 years.
Can you tell us with any certainty how widespread the religion of Satanism is in this country or around the world?
Well, the religion is worldwide. We have members just throughout the world, and it's a legitimate religion.
Yes, define what legitimate religion means. Oh, LaVeyan Satanism is a funny thing. Completely unrelated from Satanic Temple. Always got to stress that, because people equate one to the other.
You know, perfectly within it's legal.
But how many people? Hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands?
Hundreds of thousands, I can't say. Thousands, easily.
What is it, Dr. Aquino? Dr.
Oh, if you want to feel old, Zena LaVey here was born in 1963.
Aquino, the high priest of the Church of Set.
Temple of Set.
Temple of Set, also a colonel. interestingly enough, in the United States Army.
And he looks like a total fucking fruitcake. He's like a chubby, half-assed version of Eddie Munster. I can't take this dude serious. He's got more pomade in his hair than the entire cast of Grease.
What is it, this Satanism?
I think that there is some confusion tonight because this same term means something different to Satanists than it does to Christians.
Ozzy peed on the Alamo, and he got arrested here in Memphis for something. I forget what. Let me look that up real quick. I think he was peeing on a sidewalk or something. Misdemeanor charge of he was arrested at 12:30 a.m. on a misdemeanor charge of public intoxication. Ooh, I'm gonna read the details on this. Hang on, let me shift back. Where was he? On Beale Street, yeah. So I have stood in the exact same spot, likely, where Ozzy Osbourne wandered around drunk in Memphis back in the 80s. I'm fucking awesome. Yeah.
In the United States. By our own standards, the people who you've shown in these film clips would not be Satanists, either present or in the...
Timu Star Trek, holy shit. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. Holy fuck, he does. He's a quarter-ass Vulcan. Get old and do good, my dudes. And instead of the Vulcan, live long and prosper thing, he just gives you the middle finger. Except he gives it the wrong way, so he's giving it to himself.
Past. Rather, they would be the failures of a conventional religion.
I appreciate your opinion. What is it, sir, then? What is it?
Look, that's not even a haircut. I think he's bald and he just took some Sharpies and drew hair on.
Satanism.
Well, originally the Church of Satan, when it was founded, was composed not of people with a hatred for Christianity, but of people who, by and large, were agnostics and atheists, because they felt that the institutions which had arisen around Christianity had failed in their moral commitment. So Satanism itself became an emphasis on rational self-interest and on taking responsibility for your own intellectual and ethical decisions.
Which is interesting, because that's more of a satanic temple standpoint. So this little temple of Set, or whatever this dude is representing, seems to be almost a prototype for TST. I don't know any details beyond that, but that's what it sounds like to me, versus LaVeyan Satanism that actually treats the entity as existing in some capacity. So my understanding is, let's not get into the details, I think it still is like a self-embodiment kind of thing. But it has more supernatural essence per se than, TST and such actual atheist religious constructs.
Rational self-interest, you call it?
Yes.
Okay, one thing we do know that Satanism has in common with other religions is the belief that the devil can inhabit your body. Remember the movie Exorcist, the film? It dealt with ridding the body of Satan in a ritual called exorcism.
Uh-oh, guys, you might want to watch out. We got clips from The Exorcist about to play. I don't know if we can handle it. If you have an adult nearby, hold them close. Well, as long as you're comfortable with that, I don't know. If you're anywhere near DAL, you might want to watch out what adult you get near. Holvin, he's an enabler.
As we discovered in the heart of the Haitian section of Brooklyn, New York, exorcism is more than just a scene in a movie. It's a common aspect of some people.
Oh, yes, they have to go to the Haitian section of New York. Yeah. Because we all know Haitian religious practices embody the quintessence of reality. No explicit offense intended, but I just want to point out how deep they have to go down the rabbit hole to get something to use.
Religious beliefs. Operating out of the back room of this religious curio shop, a voodoo priest regularly performs exorcism. This one, a woman who's...
That's not an exorcism. That's just a bachelor party. Not a very good one, but they're trying, damn it.
Persistent stomach pains were thought to be caused by the devil inside her.
I know you've been possessed by the devil for so many years. He been bother you. Just today you come to me, and I'm going to let them know he cannot bother you again.
Visible on the back shelf behind the gentleman who's yelling, a complete bootleg set of every episode of Twilight Zone on Betamax. Available to rent for $9.95. Yes, they're fucking expensive down here. It's the only place you can rent them.
With the help of several assistants and accompanied by throbbing traditional music, the priest's incantations built to a crescendo. Then, in a moment of almost sexual release, the devil was purged from the patient.
That you can take, that you can take all the malady, all the sickness away from you.
In every...
So them ritualistically slaughtering the chicken is A-okay. But, you know, listen to some good drop D shredding, pure evil. Got it. See, they would all hate this stuff if one for the fact that this little bit of ritualism and the fact that it's an exorcism or can be analogized to such, made into an analogy of such, depending on whatever terms they particularly use. But this seems to possibly be a Catholicism offshoot. Either way, that's okay. They'll totally accept it. But if this was other context, nope, that's right out. That's horrible, evil pagan shit. Beautiful. One for double standards. They have no standards at all.
Freeway. Southern California is a very long way from the heart of Brooklyn. But at the church of a preacher named Roy Masters, exorcisms...
Oh no! He's got the sticks! No! Not the sticks!
...of the devil appear just as sincere...
I can't stand birchwood! I only build my buildings in Minecraft out of oak! Birchwood, They never updated the forests! They need to update the forests!
Here, far out, and dramatic.
Lost your power. Get out of here.
With a background in show business rather than...
I can do it too! You get out of here! Yay!
Theology. Masters claims the members of his congregation react so profoundly to the laying on of the cross because they feel and fear themselves possessed by the devil.
Come out. No. I won't let her go. No.
You know how I was mentioning the band Lordi earlier? One of their songs, and I think it might actually be an album title, instead of exorcism, it's sexorcism. Have fun with that. Go listen to it. It's a pretty cool song. Pretty damn good album, honestly. Although, what Lordi album isn't awesome?
Devil worship is as old as religion itself. It's the grim alternative, the flip side of life. Evil over good, dark over light, Satan over God himself.
Ah, yes, the same old LaVey footage that they've been using for fucking ever.
Come forth and be
playing everyone like fucking chumps.
Go these blessings of hell upon us.
Forced underground by the religious hysteria of the Middle Ages, Satanism was resurrected, first by an Englishman named Aleister Crowley in the early 20th century. It entered its modern era in this country just about 25 years ago, under the theatrical guidance of Anton LaVey, California-based high priest of present-day devil worship. LaVey founded the Church of Satan. Now, despite...
And was a total fucking goober.
Despite its preachings of evil and hate, the church and its offshoots are constitutionally protected.
I mean, I say that, me being a total fucking goober. My audience, you guys, one way or another, all total fucking goobers, so we're all like kind. It's just, I look at this, I'm just like, having fun LARPing there. It's like the episode of King of the Hill, when Bobby gets in with that coven, the Coven of Artemis, Ward and his friends, and he eventually realizes they're just a bunch of fucking clowns. That's what we got right here. It's like, this is ridiculous. You're taking yourself seriously.
Religions.
I believe that hate is necessary in a controlled way just as much as love is necessary.
LaVey penned the best-selling satanic Bible.
I really need to get myself a copy of that just to round out things. It'll go great with my copy of the God Delusion, my random-ass Bible that's hanging out wherever, and I'll nestle right beside it my copy of Industrial Society and its Future, which I could have swore I kept out of storage, but I guess it's in storage, which means I guess I got to order another copy. Whatever, you can never have enough copies of that book.
It's the handbook of devil worshippers everywhere. And for a time, he was considered chic enough to attract the attention of Hollywood. After working together on a film, LaVey made Sammy Davis Jr. an honorary member, while the late Jane Mansfield was for a time among LaVey's most passionate followers.
Huh, I'll have to look into that. So here's a fun fact that I can't believe comes up as often in my daily life as it does. But you know those bars on the back end of semi-trailers in the United States and probably other countries, depending on regulations and designs? Those are commonly known as Mansfield bars. That's what I always refer to them as, specifically because they became commonplace after the death of Jane Mansfield, where the car went under the back of a truck and it did not end well for her and her and the other person in the vehicle, if memory serves. So there's a little tidbit. I don't know nothing about this though. I mean, the photo's there, but you know, I'm just saying. People did weird crap up until about the 70s and especially the 80s when religious revival really started to take off again. Like the 60s was the last bit where you could just go all out with stuff.
Most of the people that are in my group are professional people, they're business people, they're people that are from very responsible walks of life.
Contemporary Satanism relies heavily on bizarre and sometimes bloody ceremonies. One of the ugly.
Man, that's some dark crap in there. And yeah, Harold, Lordi is the first and only heavy metal band to have won Eurovision. That's how I discovered them as I was going through Eurovision winners, and I saw 2006 and was like, what is that? And I listened and I was like, oh my God, I love this. And then I listened to the rest of their stuff and I'm like, holy shit, this is awesome. And then I stumbled across the music video for the riff and was like, oh yeah, this is my band. It's been almost 10 years now. Good times. In fact, I think it probably has been right about 10 years at this point.
Yet apparently most common rituals in devil worship is the sacrifice of animals, often involving the removal of organs and the draining of their blood in elaborate ceremonies. Well, a series of...
Hey, let's go look at what the Bible talks about in the olden days of Noah and stuff. I seem to notice some similarities there. What with the ritual sacrifice of animals and the draining of blood and other such things. But it's okay when it's there. No, it's not okay in any context. It's sick, barbaric bullshit that we should have grown beyond in all cases, but as we saw from the chicken earlier, obviously haven't.
Cattle mutilations on this Louisiana farm has sent a shiver of fear through this entire community. Show me...
Are you sure it isn't UFOs? And man, this is dark, even for me. I'm a little... kind of not enjoying this part.
The evidence that this was some kind of ritual.
Oh, this hole right here?
Also, I should remind everyone that this video will probably be demonetized, so if you are in a state where you can donate to support the crazy stuff I do, this is a perfect opportunity. Because, yeah, this ain't getting monetized, especially since I paused on this frame. Ugh. Ugh. This is unsettling. Even for me.
And the tail, they cut the tail off. The same thing with the ears.
They cut the ears off.
Right.
So you two have no doubt but that your animals were used in some kind of ritual.
Right. Yes. All the blood was gone.
Again, you sure it wasn't just UFOs? If this was the 50s, you'd be blaming UFOs. I blame Chupacabra myself. That motherfucker crossed the border ages ago, and they ain't been able to deport him.
Out of them, too. Every one of them, blood was drained. No blood, no insides, eyes pulled out, everything. I'm begging for something to be done. I'm scared.
In response to the animal mutilations and other mysterious and unsolved crimes in this area, the local fundamentalist church held an extraordinary service.
There's been a lot of questions about...
So I also want to bring up something a little funny when churches will have things like that, he has risen, or the alternate, he is risen. Being a Guild Wars player, risen refers to the undead raised by the Elder Dragon Zaitan, primarily in the Sunken Kingdom of Or, as his undead army to try to take over Tyria, or whatever the hell his plan was. I don't know. It's been a while since I played the core story. So it's always funny when I see something like Jesus is risen, and it's like, oh, so he's an undead enemy from Or. So, okay, that makes sense. Except he wouldn't be Orion. Orions are cool. Where would Jesus be from? Actually, Ilona. He would have to be from Ilona. That's the equivalent Middle East. Your blend of Egypt and the Sahara, more of your Africa Middle East as opposed to your Asian Middle East. If you can describe North Africa as part of Middle East, which it isn't, but y'all know what I mean. You get some of those Arabic elements thrown in. Anyway, there's your Guild Wars lore for the stream. You know it was going to come up somewhere.
Are there any witchcraft, occultism, Satan worshippers in the area? And the answer is obviously yes.
Are there any people who, cheat on their wives and abuse their spouses and cheat on their taxes and discriminate against people who love a little differently from you and I? Well, the answer is yes, but that's okay. Are there people who, well, I'm not going to continue because I don't want to necessarily allegate that this guy did anything, but he's giving me the creeps. Of course, just about every pastor or what have you gives me the creeps at this stage. They're all scum.
The only way to deal with Satan, which is spirit, is by way of spirit.
The preacher asked his flock to protect themselves with their faith, but some chose a more down-to-earth method.
Those are the ones we call sensible.
Brother Blunt, I believe in the Lord, and I believe in you, but I'm still going to carry my gun because I'm scared.
In our investigation,
I'm also going to carry my gun because this is the South, and that's just what we do down here.
We discovered that some of Satan's soldiers are...
Which, I can't even legitimately criticize that. Yeah, do that. If you're scared and there's clearly some creepy shit going on, fucking carry. Where's the fucking argument there? It's like, I can't speak against it. That's sensible.
Are also high-ranking officers in the United States military. Here at San Francisco's Presidio Army Base, for example, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino led a double life as a satanic high priest.
Wow, like it fucking matters.
The colonel's cult is listed in the San Francisco telephone book, and his phone answering machine boasts of his affiliation.
This is the Temple of Set. The temple is the only international satanic religious institution fully recognized by the United States government.
That has since changed in the past 40 years.
Indeed, the Army does officially recognize Satanism as a legitimate religion and supplies chaplains with this guide for ministering to the satanic soldier. Yet,
yeah, that's called inclusion. That's called acceptance. That's called being American.
Officially, some charge that Army bases have become sanctuaries for devil worshippers. Just last month, under a full moon, I took a midnight tour of the Presidio grounds with police.
Yes, you, full moon, taking a tour of stuff, hunting for things. What are you doing up at a full moon and all that shit in the middle of the night, Geraldo? Your excuse is that you're, I was only looking around there to try to find the Satanists to get them away from there. Yeah, whatever. He's having freaking blood orgies in the back. That's what he was doing earlier. It wasn't a piss break. Oh, fuck. I'm losing my mind.
Investigator Ed Abanovsky. Are you saying that there was a satanic cult active right here on the Army base?
Yes, we believe so. There's evidence to substantiate that. They had satanic rituals.
Zoso, carry a gun with her at all times for defense is what she was talking about.
Going on. There's an altar in there, and all of the graffiti on the wall would indicate that.
Let's see if I can see it. How'd you find this place?
This is a fortification during World War II. During World War II, where they had gun batteries.
I can see a pentagram painted on the wall. I can see the words Prince of Darkness. On this wall, I see several inverted crosses and other obvious...
Wow, you found graffiti. Good job, Geraldo.
Satanic ritualistic paintings or symbols.
Joseph, we've agreed to conceal your identity, but you are an officer in the United States Army.
That's correct.
And you were an officer in the United States Army during the time you were a member of this satanic organization.
Yes.
Did the authorities at the Presidio know that a satanic organization was active on their base during the time that you were a member?
They were very much aware.
Yeah, Harold. Every generation has something to blame for rebel kids. 60s, rock, Elvis and stuff. 70s had disco. 80s had satanic panic. 90s had, I think they just straight blame drugs for everything. 2000s, I guess it was terrorism. I don't know. I was in high school and then an adult by then. I don't have any kids, so I don't know what to blame for their rebellious ass behavior. If I did have them, well, bastards need to straighten up and fly right. See, I can be a parent. Better one than Hovind. See, Hovind, I don't beat my kids because I ain't got any, so I don't have any reason to beat them. They aren't pissing me off, but I wouldn't beat them anyway because that shit's cruel. Mr. Oh no, my kid didn't want to get fucking dental work done, so I took him out to the Chevy van and beat his ass. Why are we talking about Kent Hovind? Why are we talking about Kent Hovind? It's a no Kent stream, damn it.
But yes.
The present base commander, Colonel Rafferty, says that today at least,
I know of no satanic activities whatsoever in this area.
Satanism may be a constitutionally protected religion, but similar to another recent case at the United States Military Academy at West Point. Here, charges surface connecting ritual child abuse at the Presidio Daycare Center.
Oh, here we go. Whoo. Okay. I'm not going to stop now. We're going to get through this segment, and then I think that'll be a good spot to stop. But this is where we get into the shit that was actually outright fucking. Like, it, regardless of the validity of the rest of this shit. This is the stuff that was just outright fucking proven to be full total bullshit.
To the devil cult. It was here, parents and others allege, that as many as 60 young children were ritualistically abused by soldiers of Satan.
What actually was done to the kids?
Oral copulation, sodomy, defecation. They were urinated on.
The former chief juvenile investigator at the Presidio, Ed Abanofsky, is here. He's now a deputy sheriff in Santa Clara County. Colonel Aquino, we note, sir, for the record, that you were originally implicated in the dreadful charges of child abuse. We note also that no charges were ever brought against you, and presumably you have been cleared. Would you like to comment on why those charges were brought against you?
Well, the entire time that the so-called child molestation scandal was occurring at the Presidio, the time period when these terrible events were supposedly taking place, I was assigned to the National Defense University in Washington, D.C., and my wife was out there living with me.
But is it not a fact that a 3.5-year-old girl identified you as the alleged perpetrator of molestation?
No, as a matter of fact, it is not the case. An accusation was made by her stepfather, who was an Army chaplain, speaking on behalf of this child. In her original interview with the FBI, she denied ever being molested.
Well, I've seen the... you are innocent until proven guilty. You were never charged in this case. I don't want to belabor the point. I have seen, however, the affidavits for the search warrant of your home, and they indicate the child is speaking to the authorities, not her father.
This was after she had been subjected to therapy.
Yep. The classic, eventually ask enough questions, load it a certain way, and assist them with what's perceived to be a problem to the point where you actually convince the non-victim that they were a victim. Sort of a reverse gaslighting that's pretty damned horrific, not only for instilling the belief in somebody that they were abused in such a way, but the damage that causes to the true victims, those being accused of this act that never occurred. Fucking horrible.
Let's say you are innocent of that. You are no longer at the Presidio. You are now in St. Louis, but you are still a serving officer or colonel in the United States Army. Do you feel it is inconsistent with a high-ranking officer sworn to uphold the Constitution of the United States that you are also a practicing Satanist?
Not in the least. The Army has known of my religion for the last...
Actually, sharing in chat now a link to a lot of, to this, not this particular subject, but the wiki link to just the general daycare abuse scandals that were related well, a lot of them related to that, but it's more of a daycare essay hysteria. But this is a fragment of it, so it's just one slice of the hysteria that was a thing.
Last 20 years, there has never been a problem with it, any more than there's a problem with other members of minority religions.
But let me read from the Satanic Bible. Quote, this is the number one, commandment. Death to the weakling, wealth to the strong. How can you believe this and still uphold the Constitution of the United States? Death to the weakling?
Well, for one thing, what you're looking at there is a highly polemical book that was never meant to be taken literally in all of its commandments.
Father.
Yes, and I'm aware of that, and I'm also saying that members of the Church of Satan understood that much of this book was in the form of a polemic. It was a statement that was dramatically made, but was not intended to be taken literally in all its respects.
So we should not take this book literally?
Correct.
This is Dr. Walter Grote, would you stand, sir? Whose daughter was allegedly abused at West Point, the United States Military Academy. You were a captain in the United States Army. Aside from what allegedly happened to your daughter, which I know you allege was part of a satanic cult, and having nothing to do with this man, I state again for the record. What is your...
Again, I know nothing about the details of this, so I can't say anything about anything. We're just going to take a look at how this guy, Geraldo, and everybody address the discussion.
Your feeling, sir, on the fact that a serving officer in the United States Army is also a professed Satanist, a high-ranking person?
Well, I think in this election year, we've heard a lot about values, Geraldo. We've heard a...
Stacy with a comment. These are some of the lifelong victims' families torn apart, fucking just abomination after abomination, unforgivable.
Yep. That our little children should be saying the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Mr. Aquino has identified himself as an antichrist. He preaches that as the leader of the Temple Set. I don't think I'm misquoting him. I find it inconceivable that we can have candidates talking...
Yeah, Joe, this is the thing. Was the beginning of planting the seeds for literally what we have today with like Project 2025 and just this attempt to re-evangelize society. Satanic Panic was a part of that, and all of this media hype around it was sculpted because it was sculpted around that same idea. And just in this case, it seems like it's from secular, pop culture standpoint, taking it seriously rather than religious clergy just going at it. So this would be taken more seriously by the otherwise secular bulk of Americans who still had some level of faith, but weren't, hyper religious, weren't evangelicals. A group that's been diminishing even since then, but of course now it's polarized where people are either super religious or not, and most of your middle of the road people just don't exist in this country anymore.
About one nation under God and having our children say that, yet by the same token, we can have somebody in our army as a colonel leading our troops in battle who are opposed to the very concept of God and whose whole purpose it is to fight against God.
But your deity and your mythology is completely irrelevant to the actual needs of combat and the actual reality of combat and the reality of the fucking universe.
We have to take a break right here. Next.
If I was for whatever reason in combat, I wouldn't give a goddamn if the guy shooting, next to me shooting was a freaking Muslim, was a fucking, creationist, was fucking Levian Satanist, snake handler, what the hell ever. I wouldn't give a flying fuck as long as he ain't aiming the gun at me and is actually, doing a half-assed attempt at trying to resolve whatever situation we're in. None of your myths matter to me. Unless you suck as a person, we're in the same fight. Let's get through this. Let's live. Let's survive. And get the hell out of here. That's all I care about. But, no. They got to make everything about which particular fairy tale you believe in.
More on the connection between Satanism and violence, including more charges of the sexual abuse of children. If you have let your kids watch up until now, we urge you.
Yeah, Harold, exactly what I was saying. If I'm in the army, I don't care who pray to, as long as you... if I'm in the Army, I don't care who you pray to as long as you know how to do your fucking job. Exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are not kidding. Get them away from the TV during our next report. We'll be right back.
Okay, guys, so this has been an hour and 40 minutes, and as enticing as that was, I think now is as good a time as any to stop and go on and move on for just save this for tomorrow or the next day. 'Cause this is getting pretty intense. I'm glad we're covering this. I'm glad I'm getting to react and share a lot of my thoughts on this. And I appreciate y'all, being here, sharing some of your thoughts as well. A little bit of a light audience this time around, the core viewers, but hopefully this will get some traction after the fact, and maybe next time we'll pick up more, so we can have even more interaction, discussion, cross comments, and the like. I've got some stuff in the works behind the scenes, some plans. I always do. Nothing I want to talk too much about now, but channel continues to grow. I'm feeling more comfortable going out and about and covering new subjects. Really hitting a stride, and of course, I couldn't do this without y'all. You're all awesome. I feel like a clod when I say that, but I mean it every single time. I hope everyone's staying safe out there. Much love. I'm gonna hop off here, and y'all know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna fucking play Guild Wars because that's what I fucking do. Stacy, took me a second. I forgot we were talking about the military thing. Keep it down, rage assholes, and I don't care. Exactly. Joe, I never hosted a Hoven debate. I've simply covered various previous Hoven debates or specialty videos related to them that others have not, shared. Like how I'm going through Aaron Ra's re-uploads of Hoven's full responses to what Aaron Rod said in their debate. Stuff that, we cover all the stuff that was cut out from Aaron's responses to Kent's BS because, Aaron couldn't sit there and exponentially grow the videos forever. A lot of meandering garbage in there, just stick to the point, stick to the facts, and get to it. We're going to see what happens as I continue my particular adventure into covering 0645 2017. I don't know where that's going to go. Offer still stands. If he wants to debate me so badly because he wants to debate everybody, he's going to have to agree to my terms, but I'm happy to if he wants to. I just don't necessarily have any desire to, although I've kind of got an idea of what I might want to do if I do ever decide I'm bored. Let's set up a debate with Ken Hovind because I'm crazy enough to do that. I don't want to, but again, you do a lot of weird stuff when you're bored. But that being said, again, much love as always. I am out of here. Stay safe.